Hello everyone, my name is Sarah and today we're going to be looking at the Beauty of Horror Tarot. Um, Says right on top, fear your future, and yeah, I'm all about that. Thank you. So to start off, the box itself is kind of a large clamshell type box. Um, right on top you have the guidebook with a little pull ribbon, and we'll get to the guidebook here in a second, but it is pretty cool. So the cards themselves, they also have a pull ribbon, which seems a little unnecessary considering how much space is actually in the box, and it's only contained by this little cardboard papery insert. But yeah, that's how the cards are contained. So the cardstock itself is quite thin and papery. There is a slight gloss to it. The edges are not quite sharp white. Compared to a Llewellyn card, it is a little bit taller and a little bit narrower than a regular Llewellyn tarot card. So to give you an idea of how thin this cardstock is, I am comparing it to a Llewellyn deck. Llewellyn decks are known to be a little on the thinner side as far as cardstock goes. And this deck is actually a few cards shy of a Llewellyn deck. So you can tell it's actually quite thin for cardstock. But I mean, the deck itself is only around like $20, so I can't complain. The card backs are not reversible, which I think is actually interesting considering they have like reversed meanings within the guidebook. But hey, I personally don't really look at the backs when I'm picking cards, reversed or not. It's personal preference, no biggie. Shuffling is actually not bad. It is kind of floppy, um, but overall, you do get a nice mix when you do a riffle shuffle. The guidebook itself is actually pretty neat. It has, the traditional introduction, table of contents. It's not really well glued. I am already having some issues with it, but it does have full color images, a brief description of each card, along with upright and reversed meanings. It's pretty cute. It's unfortunately already falling apart, as you can see. I've only had it for about a week and a half, which is unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, overall, it's pretty cute. It's got its own personality. It also follows the Rider Waite Smith, card setup, but it doesn't follow it to a T. It's definitely not a clone by any means, but it does follow it. So the illustrations are by Alan Robert. The coloring of the cards is done by J Photos, and the guidebook is written by Rachel Pollack. The makers of this deck actually created the Beauty of Horror coloring books. Initially, I believe there are 4 of them, and I guess they're like, what the heck? Why don't we make a tarot deck? And here we are. I'm glad they decided to do that. So, similar to the Deviant Moon, where they have Mildred Payne and, a storyline with that character, they also have their own character called Guliana, and she is, talked about in the introduction of the guidebook, which I thought was, a nice addition. Also, in the introduction, they do kind of go over the history of tarot, kind of where it started, and how the Rider Waite came to be, and the fact that they are inspired by the Rider Waite for the descriptions and illustrations for this deck. In their guidebook, they do have a write up of each card, and along with the upright and reverse meanings. The description of the card, has traditional, meanings in there, and they also have their own, ghoulish twist to it. In fact, their character, Guliana herself, is actually the Empress card, which is is pretty cute. For their descriptions for each of their cards, they typically stick to the traditional meanings. However, they do have some variations in their description. Specifically, the one that, I took notice to was the hangman. Now, a lot of people will interpret the hangman as, being enlightened or seeing things from a different perspective. However, in the guidebook, and I knew this before, that in Italy, to hang somebody upside down meant that they were a traitor. So when I see this card in a reading, I don't necessarily first think of enlightenment. I think of, think of a traitor. So I'm glad they mentioned that in this book. I don't see it very often. So it was kind of refreshing to see that. So the overall vibe of this deck is very similar to the Zombie Tarot. Both decks are quirky and creepy and a little punchy. And overall, gory decks that, will still put a smile on your face. So can't go wrong with that. It has a very, decent vibe to it, surprisingly. That's my impression with this deck, is that it is a little punchy and kind of honest. So it's always a good quality in a deck. Overall, this deck was, fun to work with, and I got some pretty good readings. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and guys, take care. Bye.